Hey guys, so we are sharing with you guys Caleb's bath time and bedtime routine and his skin and hair care. So when Caleb was born, he had these little things on his skin called pustules. They're like all over his feet and his some parts of his body and his face. And they tell you not to pop it and stuff like that. So what I did, I just gave him a bath right when we got home from the hospital, and I used breast milk on it. I squeezed my golden juice on it, and it pretty much cleared up a few days later. But once we took him to his first month checkup, the doctor said that it's baby acne and it's gonna come back in about a month. So he's about a month in this video that we're bathing him right here. And I got the whole Aveeno eczema wash. The reason why I got the Aveeno eczema wash is once he turned a month, his face broke out. Like, I don't know, it just looked terrible, and it bothered me more than it bothered him, obviously. And I just wanted for it to clear up. When Nyla was a baby, she had a little rash on her cheeks as well, and I used the same treatment for her. And Naomi, she had something on her arm when she was a baby as well, that they call baby acne, and I chose to use the Aveeno again, and again that worked magic for us. So here you see me in the video, and I am rubbing it on his cheeks. You can also put it in the bath, because that's what you're supposed to do. It's pretty much oatmeal, organic oatmeal treatment that you're doing it for eczema, dry skin, rashes, and anything like that. So you sprinkle some in the bath, you shake it up, and you make sure it doesn't sit at the bottom. But you can rub it on his face and let it sit there. They say about 15 to 20 minutes that you could keep it on, but obviously I'm not going to keep him in the bath for that long, and I don't want him eating it. So I just keep it on for a few minutes while I'm washing everywhere else. And I'm making sure I get his neck, because he had rashes on his neck and his ear, as you can see in this picture here, how his face looked. And I didn't notice at this time that he had, what do you call that thing, cradle cap in his head. I noticed it a few days later that he had the cradle cap, and I'm like, yo, I need to just get the eczema wash and wash his face. So once I did that, I'm also gonna put the eczema cleansing cream in his hair. And when I say eczema, it's for rashes too. And this is how his face looked 5 days later. And when I'm doing his hair, what I'm doing is I'm rubbing it in, and then I'm going to get the brush and I'm going to brush it. Instead of using my finger to pick it or whatever, I'm just going to use the brush to loosen up the buildup that's on his scalp. And once we get out of the tub, I'll do it again. So if you have a newborn, and like, I bathed Caleb right when we just got out the hospital when he had the pustule on his skin, and I used the breast milk on it after that. But they tell you that, oh, don't bathe the baby because he has on the umbilical cord. But I'm going to tell you, like, you can bathe the baby with the cord on. You just have to make sure you dry it out really, really good. And when you take him out, you can use alcohol and get it to dry up and fall off quickly. So when you're bathing him, I'm actually making sure that I get inside his belly button as I'm washing him, and I'm gonna get in between his toes and his armpits, because you know babies are a little chubby, and all of these little spots that create creases in his body, it can actually cause for a bad odor to be there after water sits there. So you want to make sure you wash those areas like his armpit, the creases of his leg, where his genitals are, in between his toes. Especially if your baby has sweaty toes or you keep socks on their feet, you want to get there. Get behind the ear, under the neck. The neck is the hardest part. You know, you have to stretch them out a little bit and get in there to clean it. So as you guys can see, he's super calm in the tub. Even if I'm washing his hair and the water runs in his face, he just loves it. And he actually loves to look at the faucet as the water is running out. So sometimes I just keep it on a little bit. So I'm going to show you guys this little cap that I'm putting on his head. I had this with Naomi, and you can get this on Amazon because that's where I got this one, or I think Walmart has it too. And you just strap it around the baby's head, and when you're washing their hair and you're washing it out, it makes sure that the soap does not run in his face or her face.
Wait, where's my battery?
Alright, so we are out of the tub, and I'm making sure I dry all the areas that I washed, right? So especially in the neck, like I told you, you don't want the water to sit there and it smell funky. So you want to make sure you wipe out those areas really good in the creases of the armpit. And I'm using the eczema lotion here on his skin. And the only reason why I have on a diaper right now is because I'm doing a video and I want you guys to see his private area. But usually he'll be butt naked, and I'm making sure I dry everything first. And this is how he has an innie, so this is how I peel out, or should I say open it up or get in there and make sure I dry it out really good, because I'm going to tell you, I have an innie myself, so I know this. If you don't clean the area really good, it will stink. So you can peel it out. It's not hurtful at all, and I know this from experiencing it. I have an innie too, so you can go in there. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can use a Q-tip and just wipe out in there and clean it up. Make sure that you do fold it back in, as you see I'm doing in the video, so it goes back over, and you just wipe it out and it's nice and clean, so all that water that got in there gets out, right? And the same thing for the feet and the toes. You want to dry those areas really good. In his underneath his arm, like right, because he has, you know, the little skin, because they're a little chunky, sometimes it could get just moist from just being him. So what I do sometimes, I just rub A and D right on his armpit, because this is the same thing that I use for his diaper, so it doesn't rash up. All right, so I'm gonna use coconut oil in his hair. So everything's organic, so I'm gonna rub it up, put it in there nice, and then I am going to brush his hair again to get any buildup that's left on his scalp, and make sure I try not, when I'm brushing it, I make sure I'm not brushing it in his face. So I brush it towards the back, on a piece of cloth or his receiving blanket, and then I just brush it off his skin. Alright, and then you can see in this video right here that his scalp is nice and clean. If you look in the bottom right there, and again, I just brush off any flakes that got on his skin, or usually I just use a wipe and wipe it off, and then make sure it doesn't stay on his skin, because they say, the doctor says, that's what causes the rashes, so I just don't want it to spread all over his body. Alright, so this is how I clean out his mouth. I had put on here that I make sure you clean the baby tongue, and everybody was asking me, how do you clean his tongue? And this is pretty much how I do it. I put the washcloth in his mouth, and I wait for him to move his tongue, and then I wipe it off. Try not to poke my finger all the way back in his throat. And most of the time I do this in the morning, make sure his tongue stays nice and clean and he doesn't get trash on his tongue. And I usually do it in the tub, but because I was using the eczema wash, I don't use it in the tub. I wait till he comes out and I use a different washcloth.
Ow. Mommy's getting this.
So what I'm doing here, I'm closing up the curtains and getting him ready for bed. So I put him in the blanket. He doesn't like to be swaddled much, so I just don't swaddle him. But I do keep him in the sleeper so he stays nice and warm, because babies, it's hard for them to regulate their own temperature. And I'm feeding him his midnight snack, or should I say his bedtime snack, and we read stories to him. He gets about 2 stories a day, and if he doesn't get any in the daytime, he definitely gets his bedtime story before bed. And usually I have the girls come in there and they sit with me. Sometimes I allow them to read to him as well. Once we finish reading the story, I make sure I darken up the room, so I turn off the light, that big light over there, and then I will turn on the night light. And once he's finished feeding, I burp him and put him to bed. I try not to wait for him to sleep. I just know that he's sleepy and he knows that this is the routine by now, and I don't hush him to sleep, or rock him to sleep, as you should say. Once he's finished eating and I burp him, I'll put him in the crib and he's still awake. Sometimes his eyes are still open. And as long as he's not fussy and wailing, he stays there and just goes to bed by himself.